It's time to sit back and check out the RCWR show with Lee Sanders. Get fun, in-depth coverage and analysis from the latest in professional wrestling in AEW, WWE, NWA, Impact Wrestling, or the world of entertainment. From hit TV shows to your favorite sports like the NBA or NFL. All things music, movies, and beyond, while trying to make sense of this crazy world we live in. All while keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive since 2011. And now your host, live from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Happy Sunday for this August 27th, 2023. You're checking out a special Sunday night edition of the RCWR show, as this is your AEW All In 2023 London Wembley Arena pay-per-view post-show. I know that the pay-per-view is a couple of hours removed. I actually was supposed to come on live after the event was over, but your man has been busy pretty much all this week between shows and work, getting ready for the fall semester, and I was trying to finalize some last-minute textbooks I was gonna need, trying to make sure I have my parking pass set up for where I'm gonna be going on campus for some of these classes I'm involved in, and some other additional stuff tied to it. So that had really got the best of me. I also was trying to finalize my schedule. Now, I apologize for our audio listeners, but you can easily check out the timestamp at the 3-minute 30-second mark as I'm getting ready to show something to our visual audience. But this right here was just a rough draft of the initial schedule, and the new class schedule, it is totally filled up. I had to do so many revisions because I was trying to make sure that I met certain prerequisites, conditions, obligations, and all that other stuff, not to bore you guys with. So that had got the best of me. And then Wifey had came in at one point early while the pay-per-view was on. I think it was maybe after the first match was over and done with between CM Punk and Samoa Joe. And she had brought in some pay-per-view food, right? That's normally what goes down and everything. And I gotta say, I had a little bit too much because I had got a headache, and I was very sluggish for the rest of the event. It was so bad that after I was done, in between jotting down notes on the pay-per-view and everything, I ended up taking a little bit of a power nap. That's how bad it was. It's my diabetes, so if I have a case of too much sodium, too many carbs, it messes me up big time. But I'm feeling a lot better now and everything. I'm actually kind of glad that we waited around this time to do the pay-per-view post-show, because I know every Tom, Dick, and Harry earlier was just jumping out there. And apparently there were a lot of fluffers. And if anybody wants to take this personal, well, then you are definitely part of the problem in the wrestling community. But to see some of my colleagues out there saying, Stadium Stampede, A+, FTR versus Young Bucks, A+, Kenny Omega, Hangman, Adam Page, Ibushi, Jay White, Juice Robinson, Takesha, B+, CM Punk versus Samoa Joe, A, Jack Perry versus Hook, B+, Aussie Open, MJF, Adam Cole, B+. Just, I kind of feel like this is that scene from Ralphie in A Christmas Story, and he's hoping that when his teacher reads his paper about why he should be given this Christmas holiday season a Red Ryder carbon BB gun, that the teacher's gonna give him a solid A, because that's the best paper she's ever read in her her entire life, okay? Let alone in that class, but just in her entire life of teaching, that is the absolute best paper she's ever come across. And his paper is so good that, yes, without a doubt, he's going to not only get himself an A+, but yes, he will get what he wants. He's going to get a BB gun. Please, let's back up on the Kool-Aid a little bit. I trust some of the ratings that truly unbiased wrestling fans in the wrestling community that's not doing vlogs, that's not doing a podcast, webcast, and all that. I trust them. I'll trust the people in the forums a lot more than when I see and read crap like that. Come on now. Now, I'm not saying that the show was bad, but let's be honest, there were definitely some areas which made you scratch your head a little bit and say, I'm a little bit concerned right here, or okay, here we are. This is a perfect case of Tony Khan, not really sure what he's doing right here, so he's going with what's popular instead of what's right. We'll dive into all of that. We'll try not to have this be a long, drawn-out pay-per-view post show for you guys, because I mean, after all, it is Sunday night, and this is it. A lot of people are going to be getting ready to go back to school. Definitely 90% of the country is definitely going to be going back to school, as you've got young ones and all that this coming Monday. For sure, everybody's in full effect the day after the Labor Day holiday and everything. So I got to give AEW high marks off the break for the fact that they had this pay-per-view that came on. You know, coverage really began at 11 a.m. Eastern over here on the East Coast, but it really popped off with the 0 hour event. And so the pay-per-view kickoff itself was officially at 1 p.m. Eastern. And so look, the fact that we can get a pay-per-view out the way early in the afternoon, and you can go enjoy yourself for the rest of the night, put in your affairs in order, do some last minute, whatever, man, laundry, whatever you got to do. I like that fact. Give the devil where it's credit, okay? Give the devil its credit where it needs to be given. I know there was a lot of naysayers, even haters that were out there I even saw it up to the point that there was a few photos from those that were in attendance. And again, here's a case right here, and I've been saying this for years. I have been saying this for freaking years, that if you happen to attend an event and you have your phone, all the high definition capabilities, specifications, and all that our phones have these days, and you're telling me that you're going to go on ahead, hey, you know what, man, it looks like there's hardly not that many people here. I wonder what's going on. And you just take a picture. Well, you know what? Unless you take this picture in a way that is showing, hey, at this point, you can see clear as day, Chris Jericho versus Will Ospreay is underway right now. Unless it's a situation like that, stop being scared. Turn on video mode. Nobody's saying you got to show your face. We don't care for your face. You don't have to show your face. Look, if you look like freaking Igor or something, it's okay. You don't need to show your face. But you should at least be able to run a video. I don't understand what's so hard about that. Somebody explain it to me. What is so hard about doing a 15 to 30-second video, especially when you're high up there in the bleacher seats? What is so hard about doing a 15 to 30-second video? Hey guys, Lee here. I'm at AEW All In at the Wembley Stadium. So we got the Samoa Joe CM Punk match getting ready to go down, and I just wanted to show you guys real quick a 360 perspective of how it looks here. There's a lot of seats that's filled up. As you can see, it looks like this area over here is, what was that? Was that almost 30 seconds right there? You know, hey, I'll keep you guys posted, right? And if you want to come on back, do another. And man, these days you can now take screenshots of the video that you're recording. So if you want to break that up and you want to show a particular frame, use that as a JPEG image, you can do that as well. You know, it amazes me how you have some people that are out there, they want to try to throw some type of shade every single chance that they get. And this isn't me riding AEW. This is just a behavior that I've noticed, whether we're talking WWE or we're talking TNA / Impact Wrestling, you know, AEW, you name it. I've been seeing this for so many years of people that just, I'm going to post this image, not a video. It's like, I'm just going to post this image, and it just, pandemonium just breaks loose and all of that, right? But we heard about this months ago when Tony Khan and crew had made the decision that they were going to go and perform, not just at any arena, but they were going to go and perform at Wembley Arena. A lot of history there. A lot of musicians have performed there. You're looking at this and you're going, man, AEW, ooh, this is a mighty, mighty big task that you all are taking on here. Are you sure you're going to be able to live up to the hype? Are you going to be able to deliver? And say what you will. Look, we know that there was the press conference not that long ago. I sadly didn't get a chance to watch it, but I will take my notes and I'll comment a lot more about it on Monday. But I know right now there's a lot of conflicting information as far as the numbers go. On the one hand, you had Nigel McGuinness break the record that for the attendance, it was 81,035. But then we have Tony Khan. He's got some semi-different figures. I believe he said somewhere between 7,000 to 9,000 of those seats were comped, right? So you've got people that are now going, okay, well, since he admitted that, let's deduct that a little bit. So basically that's 70 plus, right? So, like, no matter how you want to cut it, you still gotta, whether we're talking 81,000 or we're talking just a little over 70,000, you still have to give Tony Khan, AEW, their respected credit, which is, look, they were able to do this. They were able to go out there and they were able to perform in front of a rather very large crowd. This was the biggest crowd that AEW performed in front of since the company was created. Since its inception, this was to date the largest crowd that AEW has performed in front of. Nobody will ever be able to take that away from them. Let the wrestling analytics of time show that, because that's the truth. Even if that number, that record of 81,035 were to get crushed months, a year, or years down the road, they'll still be able, trust me, wrestling fans, they remember certain events. They remember certain events. Even if some might not be able to remember numbers, wrestling fans will definitely remember, hey, remember when AEW went to Wembley Stadium? Remember when they went there? Remember how they performed in front of a massive sold-out crowd there? Remember how big that was? People are gonna remember that, even if it gets crushed, right? So you gotta give the Devil and crew its respected due, because look, you know, I've been seeing this back and forth, and MJF had captured it so well when he had did that interview with the guys over at Busted Open, and shout out to them. But you know, he nailed it perfectly when he was talking about how basically the wrestling fans, you know, they're acting like WWE versus AEW, and that's not even the case with him, the boys and girls there at AEW, and it's definitely not the case over in WWE. It's not the case over there. You know, there's like, you got this whole camaraderie thing that's going on. It's a respectable level, and I think when wrestling fans can truly stop making it almost come off like it's a Crips and Bloods type of gang ordeal, when they can stop making it be like that, and they can just truly take a step back and say, you know what AEW has been able to do so far up to this point with Wembley Arena, you know what, Wembley Stadium, this is a win-win. This is a win not just for wrestling fans, this is a win for the wrestling industry, especially if it means that men and women that are aspiring to become professional wrestlers are able to jump out there and they're able to have another option of a place to go to potentially hone their craft and get in front of an audience and all of that. It's a win-win for everybody because it means more people will be able to work. Not just men and women lacing up their pair of boots, but it also means for men and women behind the scenes, the roles that you don't even think about on a weekly basis. They're in a position where they're able to do something as well. So it's some serious food for thought. So congrats to AEW for what they were able to do, attendance-wise, everything leading up to this event. I loved all the different camera angles that they were showing. I kind of suspected that they were using some form of drone technology with the way some of the shots were being taken and everything. I'm hoping that one of the questions that is asked of Tony Khan from the media scrum is what technology did they embrace to try to show the fans this go around different camera angles and all that, because I think that's just really a fun question. I know WWE has been dipping into it a little bit as well. That's something I'd like to see them kind of tackle as well and talk a lot more about how they've been able to embrace this new technology that honestly they were having a hard time collectively, these promotions having a hard time understanding, not even touching it years prior, but now we see them fully embracing it and everything. It's some phenomenal stuff to the point. Congrats to AEW, because by the very end of All In earlier today, it was announced that AEW is going to be coming back to the Wembley Stadium Sunday, August 25th of 2024 for another installment of All In. Hey, now I can just picture some of the detractors out there, or I can picture those that have legit concern about, okay, you were able to get what you were able to get as far as attendance wise for this event, but now you're gonna do this again next year. Man, are you really gonna be able to make lightning strike twice? Because see, now the pressure is really on, okay? Because this is a deal where, okay, you did it once. Some people could say you had a lot of luck going in your favor. You had a lot that was going on. Let's see if you can make this happen a second time, and it can be as successful. Just because you were given the keys to ride it again, right? You want to drive it again? Yeah, here's the keys. Go ahead, you can drive it again. That doesn't mean anything. Now it's, okay, double up. It's literally double or nothing right now. Now you got to go out there and silence any criticism, any current criticism that's out there. Anybody that wants to talk comp, anybody that maybe wants to say, well, there's no way AEW is going to be able to get as close to that same number of wrestling fans again. The one thing that we all in the United States need to understand, and I know my brothers and sisters in Canada, they definitely can relate to what I'm getting ready to put out there. For sure, those in Saudi Arabia and everything, the one thing that we need to have as a collective wrestling community in the back of our heads is this point, which is for our folks over there in London. You know, it's extremely rare that a major wrestling promotion comes out there, whether it's for a tour or they're going to be giving them a pay-per-view event. That is extremely rare. So of course, when you do it at a venue such as this, Yeah, the numbers are probably going to be out the yin yang because the wrestling fans want to come out there and, they want to represent and everything. I got to give a shout out to my boy Matthew from Botchamania. I love that guy. He apparently, I believe he was there in attendance. I know he's from the UK area, but he had put out a interesting post on Twitter X earlier today. And he talked about the fact that AEW is returning to Wembley in 2024. But in addition, he said this: I hope they start and end sooner, as getting 80,000 plus out the stadium before the underground stops on a Sunday was wishful thinking. Last trains were beyond capacity, and many are having to get night bus / high price taxis. That's the last thing people want to do after they've spent X amount of money trying to get to the event, buying all the merch, concession stand food and drinks and all of that stuff. People want to be able to get out of an event at the end of the day. They want to be able to take whatever, public transportation, you name it. They like those options. The last thing a person wants to do is be in a position where, man, I got to pay out the yin yang just to try to get back home, or just to try to get to this point where I left my car and everything. So kind of interesting to hear that. If there were those of you that actually went to this event and you were experiencing these same issues that Matthew was talking about, sound off and definitely let me know on that note. We had a lot of drama that was going on with CM Punk during this whole time of the pay-per-view. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a hot second. We had for our pre-show, our 0 hour pre-show, MJF and Adam Cole defeating Aussie Open's Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher by pinfall to become your new ROH Tag Team Champions. That went down at 7 minutes 45 seconds. I did not see this match. Sadly, by the time I came in during the midway point for Hook taking on Jack Perry for the FTW Championship, okay? So, unfortunately, I can't talk at great length about MJF and Cole winning the ROH tag titles, but it is funny because for those of you that have checked out the last 2 weeks worth of shows I put out, at least for sure the last week's worth of shows, I alluded to the fact that it would be a smart move for Tony Khan, and I even said it. When I say allude, I just said it outright. It would be financially, business-wise, a smart move for Tony Khan to make Adam Cole and MJF the ROH Tag Team Champions. And my main thinking, reasoning behind that logic was, look, you've got Ring of Honor that's now behind a paywall. And if you want to get technical, you could essentially say that AEW Dark / Elevation is now Ring of Honor, is just behind a paywall. And my whole thing was, look, you got to try to get more eyeballs on that product as best as humanly possible. This is definitely one of the smartest ways to do that, is you got to put certain people in the right position where, and I even laid it out beautifully. I said something along the lines of, if they are attached to the ROH promotion, yet you still want to have them do some stuff for AEW television. And I believe, for a good analogy, I made this number where I said, look, let's take 3 months worth of shows. So that's essentially 12 shows for AEW television, right? Long as you got television, okay, boom, you've got the access to check out AEW, whether it's TNT or TBS, you got the access during those 3 months. If you have somebody that's normally part of AEW television win a ROH championship and or feuding with somebody over there at ROH, obviously you've got to decrease the number of AEW TV appearances they're making, because you want to try to give those ROH subscribers their money's worth. You want to try to justify that their money has been invested in a really good place and everything. So you obviously gotta tone that back a little bit. If that means you gotta cut it in half, well, okay, so be it. Cross that bridge when you get there. It really depends on the analytics, what's happening and all that. So I thought that them pulling the trigger, making MJF and Cole the new ROH tag champions, was a very, very smart move. But at the same time, it also piqued my curiosity even more what was going to be going down with that main event. Because for me, I felt that maybe Roderick Strong and or the Kingdom. Now, look, I don't know if the Kingdom had got involved in this match. You all would have to tell me and everything. But I thought for sure that there was going to be some type of friction that was going to be caused, that maybe Kingdom was going to be the result of this, and while they're behind the scenes pulling the strings, the friction just really pops off between Cole and MJF, and that essentially sets the tone for the main event match to come later on during the actual pay-per-view. I thought maybe that was going to be the direction we were going to be heading down, but unless you tell me otherwise, it looks as though that's not even where we had went with that. So kind of interesting what went down. Hook defeating Jack Perry by submission to regain the FTW championship in a FTW rules match, 8 minutes 20 seconds. So this is where the drama starts to come into play here, okay? A lot of drama here with our boy CM Punk once again. Where there's Punk, there is controversy when it's all said and done. All right, so look, let's talk a little bit about the match itself. For the little bit that I had saw, I thought it was hard-hitting. I thought both men looked pretty damn good in this one. I thought there was some really cool spots that went on. I like the fact that this match wasn't long and drawn out. I thought that was a nice touch in itself right there. You know, I would have expected for Jack Perry to continue having that FTW championship, let Hook chase after him just a little bit longer, because after all, for those of us that had watched AEW Collision, and by the way, shout out to you guys that had checked out my coverage for Collision over at 401mania.com. Man, Friday night and Saturday night on that site, I was doing back-to-back. I did Friday night AEW Rampage, which was my usual, and then I had came back essentially less than 24 hours later, and I had covered AEW Collision because Samba, who's the regular Collision guy, he's away on vacation, so he's out for not just this weekend, but he's out for the next weekend as well. So I was doing double duty this weekend as far as my respected AEW coverage and everything. And I just remember when I was watching Collision, you know, for those that didn't watch Collision, the match was made on that show between Hook and Perry. So you're going, oh, okay, well, this is so sudden. Oh, okay, cool. So I thought for sure, keeping that in mind, somehow Jack Perry was going to wiggle his way into a title retain, and essentially we're going to build this up to All Out in Chicago, because less than a week away, let's remember that, less than a week away, we've got All Out. And as it stands right now, we still don't exactly have an idea of where exactly we're going to be going with this full card. I mean, it's really, really, really unfortunate, you know, because I mean, I don't mean to laugh while I'm thinking about it, but you guys got to admit, it was like, wow, we're less than a week away from another pay-per-view. and we still don't quite know what exactly is going to be going down. I mean, this is going to be very, very interesting. I can't wait to see what Tony Khan and the crew do with this one and everything. There was a spot that went down, I remember, where there was, well, you thought pretend glass, as Hook was trying to do something there. No, it was Jungle Boy Jack Perry. He was trying to do some type of a suplex, maybe a pile driver to Hook. It got reversed or whatever. And Jack Perry said something along the lines of, real glass, it's real glass. And he followed it up with Crimea River and all of that. Keep that in mind, because this ties into the whole CM Punk. So Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful, he was one of the first to jump out there and put out the news that there was some type of an altercation that went down between CM Punk and Jack Perry. And this basically had happened, I believe, as CM Punk was coming back from his match with Samoa Joe, or this was before, but there was some type of a altercation that had went down. So you're hearing this as Sapp is saying, hey, more details to come in a little bit. One thing's for certain, by the time we got done with the CM Punk Samoa Joe match, I mean, social media was just really, really lighting up on so many levels. And, you know, it was interesting seeing people rush to judgment before they even had all the facts be put out there, right? It's one of those type of deals. And I know Tony Khan had commented on it during the media scrum. He really did not have anything to say. This was pretty much a case where, you know, he did not deny it. Something, but at the same time, I mean, you had to read between the lines. Something, in fact, did go down between Jack Perry and CM Punk. He is trying to piece together more information, but as a result, he does not have anything to add on to it right now. So you've got one version, and shout out to Mike Johnson of PW Insider. One thing I appreciate about Mike Johnson, and I'm not saying that this is the case with Sean Ross Sapp. I'm not saying it at all with him, but the one thing I do appreciate with Mike Johnson, he's not about making friends, and you know, whatever friends he does have, he plays it to the vest is my whole point. You know, you don't really know about it because he's not posing for pictures and all that other stuff. But Mike Johnson of PW Insider is reporting from his respected sources that there's one version of the story, that there had been a previous conversation between Perry and CM Punk about doing a glass spot. Y'all remember this. I didn't even give much credence to this story. I thought this was just picking straws on so many levels, okay? As Perry versus Hook was ongoing, Perry pointed out the glass on the car and screamed that it was real glass and Crimea River before doing the spot where he ended up superplex through the glass. Some are taking that as a message being sent to Punk. Backstage, the two came across one another. The prevailing story later making the rounds was that Perry confronted Punk, leading to the two shoving each other. We know for sure they absolutely had words backstage, and then had an altercation, physical interaction. Lost my place right there. I apologize. As we previously stated in the elite section, from there, they have an elite section on their site. Not AEW related, but basically there's a free version of PW Insider of articles that you can read. And then for even more details and, some other stuff, premium content, basically, there's an elite section that you have to pay for and all that. The prevailing story making the rounds, as we previously stated in the elite section. From there, the first story was Punk struck Perry. However, the version that is becoming most shared is that Perry was caught in a choke. We are working to clarify, but the belief is Perry got the worst of the altercation. Punk is still, as of this writing, backstage at Wembley Stadium. We are told that Perry was asked to leave and is no longer at the stadium. As you might imagine, this certainly won't calm the waters backstage between the different factions. Perry is firmly part of the elite camp. And as we also know, AEW has another pay-per-view coming up in a little over a week, as that's going to be in Chicago, where you would imagine that a lot of the people that were booked on this All In card tonight are going to be running it back in some form at All Out. Right, so you got to keep that in mind as well. Sean Ross Sapp has essentially echoed the same sentiments that Mike Johnson is reporting, based on the information that Mike Johnson was able to collect. This is pretty much the same information that he's sharing. And as a matter of fact, I'm actually on the 401 Mania site right now. In a new update by PW Insider, so shout out to them once again, they report that the incident happened near the gorilla position and reiterated that there are different stories on who's starting it depending on who you talk to, with some who shared the story not having been there when it happened. Report also notes that there was some shoving back and forth, and one story told them that Punk either punched or choked Perry out after that. It was added that there were quite a few people upset that the incident happened and worried that it could potentially overshadow what AEW accomplished with the show. Now, as far as Fightful, what they had learned based on their information, they did confirm that there's different stories of what all had took place, different versions of it. Fightful noted that Punk was the one that initiated things, with the two exchanging words before Punk got in Perry's face and pie-faced him. Punk allegedly grabbed Perry in a front face lock before it got broken up. So there was a lot of different stories that's going on here. It was one of those cases where, who do you believe? I know Miro had commented on an article that was out there talking about how physical CM Punk had got with Jack Perry, and he quoted that wrestling site. I think it might have been the guys over at Wrestling Purists on social media. He quoted them and said, not true, straight up lie. He pretty much called them out. And so, on one hand, you've got people that are cheering Miro on for jumping out there and really settling dust on what's real and what's not. And then you've got other people saying, well, how would this guy essentially know? Because he didn't wrestle on this card. He wasn't even scheduled to be on this card. How would this guy know? Yeah, I'm going to tell you guys, like I've always told you guys, when it comes to some form of breaking news and everything, because we've been doing this for such a long time, which is this. Obviously, with a situation like this, it is a developing story. We, much like whatever had went down between the Elite and CM Punk, we probably are never officially really going to know what truly happened. There's so many versions of the truth. Somewhere in there, there's definitely the definitive truth. We're honestly never really going to know. So rather than try to figure out what happened and then who's at fault and then rushing to conclusions before, have we not even learned anything with some of the stuff that's happened in the past? I mean, I'm sure many of you guys and girls out there can think of some examples where you go, hey, this was a perfect scenario of rushing to conclusion before all the evidence was put out there. What happened to innocent until proven guilty? There is one definitive thing that we all can agree on, though, in regards to CM Punk. If you try to call his bluff in any type of way, if you try to take some type of verbal cheap shots, if you try him. He is not the one to mess with. He will freaking size you up, and he's not going to back down. He is not going to back down. I still remember when I went to go see him so many years back for his meet and greet at the Pro Wrestling Tees store. You had a couple of people that were trying to take a couple of little jabs at him. They were trying to be playful about it, but Punk was letting it be known, he was kind of playful right back, but he was letting it be known, nah, don't even try that, because I'm going to shut that shit down. So don't even try it with me. So, it sucks that this happened, because it honestly overshadowed what was a pretty solid event for these guys. But, just try not to. I know it's very easy for you guys to indulge that piece of news, and everybody wants to choose sides and all that, but until more information comes out there about it, until CM Punk, Jack Perry, hell, Tony Khan himself, until you see how it's addressed, if those guys are even going to make some type of a statement or whatever, you just keep it moving along. If anything, if this all is true, the one thing that I must say really takes me back a little bit is the fact that, okay, CM Punk, now this is where I will push back on CM Punk just a little bit here. Love CM Punk, appreciate the guy, love him tremendously. But this is a case right here where I'm looking at CM Punk and I'm going, dude, how old are you again? It's like, come on, dude. CM Punk is 2 years older than me. 2 years older than me. He'll be 3 years older than me in October, but I'll get him a couple of weeks after that. But for the most part, he's like 2 years older than me. Meanwhile, we're looking at Jungle Boy Jack Perry. This guy is still in his 20s, okay? He is in his early 20s. I don't even think this guy is 28. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure he's 26, okay? So this kid is still scratching the surface of his respected career, all right? What I'm getting at is the fact that I don't understand why Punk would even get phased, get rattled. I don't even know why he would let this kid even mess with him and potentially his money like that. If this kid wants to go out there and he wants to be reckless, he wants to be stupid in using actual glass and all that other stuff, well, you know what? That's his body. That's on him. Heaven forbid, and I would like to believe that Punk legit, nah, man, that's insane. You don't want to be doing that. That's totally unnecessary. You don't need to. What if you get a serious laceration and blah this and blah that? I get that. Ask Bill Goldberg about that. Ask Bill Goldberg about ramming his freaking fist through a car windshield door. Ask him about that. How Bill Goldberg thought it was just going to automatically break, and the next thing you know, Bill Goldberg, he was out for how many months? I mean, he's lucky that he didn't die right there on the spot because of a serious laceration cut and all of that, to my whole point and everything. So, if that's what he wants to do, then that's on him. But you're hearing this story and assuming that it's true that Jack Perry went up to Punk and basically was going, nah, I used glass and what? I used real glass and what? Punk just needs to, he says he's trying to run a business, right? Okay, well, quietly, go talk to Tony Khan and just say, you know what? That kid wants to operate like that. As far as I'm concerned, he's banned from Collision. Not on my watch. If he wants to be that freaking reckless and stupid, okay, that's on him, but I'm not going to jeopardize the men and women on the Collision roster that's helping out every single week. No, I don't want to have anything to do with him. I see a lot of potential in him and everything, but if he wants to be that stupid, well, you know what? That's on him. I will push back on CM Punk from that standpoint if the reports that's floating around is allegedly true. I will push back on that, and I agree with what K179 is saying in the chat. I ain't gonna lie. Wherever Punk goes, he brings drama with him regardless. Indeed. There's definitely no mistake about that. No matter where he goes, there is always something that is attached. So wishful thinking right there. So I know a lot of you guys usually like to check out the stuff live or on demand and on the downloads. You wanted to know my thoughts about that whole CM Punk drama. That's on that. Let's blaze through the rest of this card here, because we only got a couple of more matches to go. We're at about the 42-minute mark right now, and the way this is looking, I mean, we pretty much, other than the CM Punk news, we're going to be able to blaze through the rest of this with ease. So I'm picturing that we should be done at about the 1 hour, 15-minute mark. And I definitely want to make sure we also include more comments from those of you that saw the pay-per-view. I definitely want to make my rounds on the web and read to you guys what people are saying about this event overall as well. CM Punk taking on Samoa Joe for the Real World Championship to kick off the actual All In pay-per-view. CM Punk retaining 14-minute mark. You know, look, this is weird because, and I agree with my homeboy Mish, they messed this up. They should have never given CM Punk the win against Samoa Joe on Collision a couple of weeks back. That should have never happened. If your angle right now is CM Punk has never beat Samoa Joe, okay, you know what? That freaking sells. You can easily take that and you can run that to your next pay-per-view. Yeah, they messed up right here, right? Because you're looking at this and you're going, what's the whole point? Like, seriously, what's the whole point? You know, where's my motivation here? How do I, right? Or as I'm looking at that title, I know they're calling it the Real World Championship. The way I'm looking at that title is it's the CM Punk went on shopaew.com and got himself a replica AEW World Heavyweight title and is calling himself the champion. That's how I'm looking at that whole freaking thing, okay? I appreciate the nostalgia that went into this and everything, because this match overall, even though I may not like the fact that Punk already defeated Joe some weeks back, I will give it this. I'll say this. I'll give props where props is due. For us hardcore wrestling fans, ROH fans, these two know each other inside and out, and they have such excellent chemistry as a result of that. And no matter what, these guys are able to make the best matches. Now, when you look at this match that they did tonight, you know, is it like, oh my God, all-star, memorable, folks will be talking about this next year, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? No. But this still, as far as just the overall, like if you were to make a compilation and you were to title it the CM Punk Samoa Joe rivalry. Now, if you were to ask me, is this match worthy of being put in that compilation? Yes, it's definitely worth being put in that compilation. You know, so I'll definitely say that. I like the curveball that they put in here as well, and that came in the form of CM Punk winning with the Pepsi Plunge instead of the GTS. Even though it was a bit of a sloppy Pepsi Plunge, but I could work with it because Samoa Joe is a big son of a okay? I can work with that. I can definitely work with that. So that was nice. I think it would have got that much more of a reaction, a nice pop from the crowd, though, if Punk did not pick up that W on Joe on Collision a couple of weeks back. I think it would have went over that much more. But definitely a very strong opener, setting the tone, a rather good match. I like how by the end, Punk essentially won the crowd over, because when he first came out, people were booing him. You know, it was a mixed reaction, but you definitely noticed the boos. And he played up to that a lot during the match and everything. You know, there was one thing I didn't like as well, and it wasn't the fault of Samoa Joe. I didn't like and appreciate some of the camera angles that was going on in this. If you have this on your DVR, assuming you ordered it through whoever, go back and watch this. Watch when they're fighting outside the arena over by the announcer's table. And you'll see at one point, Samoa Joe has Punk grounded, and he's going for his trademark punches to the face. You know, he's making it look like quick jabs and all that. And you can see clear as day. Again, apologies to my visual audience out there, or my audio listeners out there, because you don't see the visual. But the timestamp you want right now is the 50-minute, 19-second mark. All right. So I'm just going to move the microphone right here, and I'm going to move it up a little bit, right? And Samoa Joe, you know, now this is a great camera angle, right? Because if I'm going like this, it's looking like I'm actually hitting it, right? But the way the camera was positioned and the angle, clear as day, you could see that Joe was not even anywhere near the freaking microphone, right? So you see him punching, right? You see him punching, and pretend the microphone is CM Punk's face. And clear as day, you could see that it was all space. I mean, it was about at least 2 feet of space and everything. Wasn't really a fan of that, but still, good match overall. I was most curious to see what was going to happen with CM Punk after this match, especially as far as if commentators were going to, not commentators, but if Renee Paquette, Lexi, I was curious if anybody was going to catch up with him to essentially get his thoughts about the main event match that was going to be coming up between MJF and Adam Cole. Was that something he was going to be watching very closely? Was he perhaps going to make some type of a declaration as far as dibs on whoever walks out as the champion to challenge them at All Out? I was most curious because I'm looking at this whole card, and I'm saying to myself, I don't know if you guys were saying it to yourselves as well, but I'm looking at this card going, dude, we got to build towards Chicago All Out, so where's our cliffhanger here? But, you know, it's funny because, you know, look, not for nothing, but there is a couple of matches on here where you go, they're probably going to run this back, but there's really nothing you can truly sink your teeth into right now where you go, oh, this is a mad, serious cliffhanger that they're setting up here for All Out. But a great opener that they did there. Golden Elite taking on the Bullet Club Gold / Takesha. I could not wait for this match to end. I mean, it felt like I was watching everything be put out there and the kitchen sink and then some. There was a lot. You know how you are craving a pizza sometimes? And a lot of times you just want the most basic toppings for that pizza. And then everybody's got that one friend. The one who just likes to load that pizza up with all kinds of shit, okay? They just got to load it up. You know, they can't just settle for 3 different meats. You know, they got to put the entire veggie chart on it. They've also got to put all the fruits known to man on that pizza as well. I mean, they're just doing mad overkill. That's how I felt about this match with Takesha, Bullet Club Golds, Juice Robinson and Jay White, Austin Gunn, Colton Gunn taking on the Golden Elites, Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, 6-man tag match. Bad guys won here, 20 minutes, 30 seconds. It was interesting because when Bullet Club Gold and Takesha came out, as far as reactions goes, I wish I was exaggerating, the crowd could care less. I mean, you heard crickets. I mean, that told you all you needed to know right there, right? It's funny, too, because as I was checking out the pay-per-view and chatting it up with folks in the Discord, you know, we all were just amazed at that. And somebody, I wish I could give credit where it's due, but somebody had said something along the lines of, this just goes to show you that this whole Bullet Club gold thing, you know, that's not really over as you think, but really home in there on Takesha and them and the Guns and all of that, you know, that's not really right. And I was quite taken back by that, because I was expecting for the UK crowd to give them a rather huge pop, and it did not happen. So yeah, this match, I could not get into this match for nothing. I know there were some people out there that ate this up. I could not get into this for the love of me. I loved hearing JR take a couple of shots in there. He was complaining a bit in there. I did enjoy that. That was good. This was weird how they did this. I gotta admit to you guys, because you thought going into this, okay, this has gone on long enough. Surely Kenny Omega is going to be able to extract some type of revenge on Don Callis and crew. You know, this is it right here. But instead, the way that this, you know, essentially ended, on the one hand, you're looking at this and you're going, okay, they've pretty much set up a big singles match now for Kenny Omega if they do decide that, you know, they want to go there and everything. Right? You could go in that direction. But then, on the other hand, you're looking at this and you're kind of going, I don't know. I don't know if I want to continue to see this really go on. How about we just go to something else completely different? Because it doesn't really feel like this is quite gelling here. Right? They tried to load this up very heavily on action. I thought the ending was okay and everything, but it felt a little too much of a drag for me. That's just my personal taste. I could not really get into this worth a damn. I honestly would have to say to you guys that I really did not start getting excited until the coffin match. Because so far with everything that I was seeing, I was feeling like I was watching a glorified edition of Collision. Up to this point, I felt that a lot of these matches that I was seeing, okay, well, this is great. Not for a pay-per-view, but this is great for a Collision. This is great for a Rampage. This is great for a Rampage Collision 2-in-1. Yeah, that's how I was feeling right here. So my expectations were definitely high going into FTR taking on the Young Bucks, because I even mentioned it when I was offering match predictions that of all the matches I was looking forward to, that FTR taking on Young Bucks was the one that I felt was really, really going to deliver on all standpoints. I loved hearing the Young Bucks come out and they had a super kick, knocks you down. That was their little theme song at first. A super kick knocks you down. Super kick knocks you down. Right? Gotta say, Tony Khan really went out of his way to produce some, or rather, pay out the yin yang to get some money, throw some money out there so he can acquire certain songs. I remember Darby and Sting coming out to Metallica Seek and Destroy. I couldn't help but balk at that in a happy way, going, wonder how much money he shelled out for that. We had Saraya coming out to Queen's We Will Rock You. And you're just going, man, you know that was expensive as, right? You know that was expensive as hell, okay? I would imagine Jericho probably gave Tony Khan a discount for coming out there singing Judas. I can't help but wonder, does Chris Jericho and Fozzy give Tony Khan a deep discount for every time they go out there singing Judas, to the point that it's basically free? Or I wonder how that works exactly. I'm most curious. I wonder how that works. Because, and the reason why I mention that, because before anybody goes, well, come on, stupid, it's, before you go in that direction, history has shown that when singers, whether as a solo act or part of a band, when they go and let's say they make a new song and then they borrow certain lyrics from an older song that made them really popular or whatever, you'd be surprised how many times a recurrence has popped up where they somehow get tangled up in some form of litigation because they didn't get it cleared to be able to use lyrics from an older song of theirs. They wrote the song and they're trying to incorporate certain lines on a new song. You'd be surprised how many times that has popped up in the past and everything. You know what? I remember I went on record and a lot of people thought I was crazy for thinking this, and I want my credit where credit is due. I would have made so much money. I was trying to have people put their money where their mouth is, okay? I want my goddamn respect here because I said when I was offering match predictions, FTR for the retain, and people thought I was crazy. They said there is no way, no how, hell no. What are you smoking? Can I have some? No, FTR is not going to retain Lee. I said no. I beg to differ. And I jumped out there. I said, you know what? Despite the fact that Cash Wheeler is having whatever issues is going on right now. And again, I talked about it on Wednesday's show. Go look it up. As far as that whole allegedly whipped out a gun, I'm going, how did the gun look? You said it was black. You sure it wasn't a coffee mug? You sure it wasn't a thermo mug? How'd it look? Right? You mean you were able to really, if you're able to see all that, Jesus. Am I cut or uncut? I mean, seriously. But I said FTR for the retain right here. A lot of people thought I was really, really crazy for that. If you ask me what my thought process was in regards to seeing FTR retain right here, I just felt that FTR was building up such great momentum here and that they were in a better position where they could truly be the face of the tag team division. Meanwhile, the Bucks, I just felt that as far as the Bucks go, they really did not need this. This was not about... I didn't look at this really, even though it was played out as a measuring contest. As far as picking the winners for this goes, I really felt that no. Where the Bucks really win is not by becoming the tag champions and proving that they really win by stepping to the side and saying, no, you know what, FTR, they've got the hot, steady hand right now. They're the best thing that's going on in this tag division, and we got to do what's right. No, we're going to get our props another way, which is we're actually going to put these guys over while at the same time really doing our part behind the scenes to really try to help build the hell up out of this tag division. So, look, if that's the mindset of where the Young Bucks are right now, then you know what? Kudos to them. But for those that were jumping around, man, very surprised that FTR retained. I get it. I get where some of you guys are coming from, but you probably didn't think that deep into it. And I got to say, curveballs like this, very nice. I love seeing curveballs like this. Good stuff right here. Meltzer driver gets broken up through the end as FTR was able to set up the Shatter Machine to retain their tag titles. 21-minute, 39-second mark. I'll take it. Good stuff right here. Nice exchange of the finishers. Went well. Love that whole sequence. Good stuff. Bucks, it seemed like they were definitely a lock-in to win, and I get that, but see them ultimately lose. FTR getting a nice big rub on the grandest stage of them all as they get ready to go into All Out, I'll take it. I will freaking take it. From there, we get Stadium Stampede, Best Friends, Orange Cassidy, Eddie Kingston, Penta El Zero Metal taking on Blackpool Combat Club, Mike Santana, and Ortiz. Orange Cassidy, or Team Cassidy, as I like to say, picking up the win at the 21-minute mark. This was a crazy, bloody brawl. Just all downright, just all out. Majority of this match, and rightfully understandable, the majority of this match was happening outside of the ring. Look, it's a stadium stampede. What do you expect, right? They didn't really go all the way around. Like, see, I liked what was happening with the last couple of stampedes. Those were really, really entertaining. Football field, all that stuff. I was under the impression for sure that's what we were going to be doing this go round. Maybe, hell, even taking it to the streets outside of the arena. You know, and we really did not get that. And that kind of lost a couple of points for me in my book. They were all over the spot. They were all over the place, though, with crazy spots throughout the arena to try to make up for it. I will give them that. It was really hard keeping track of what was happening at so many locations all at the same time. And they tried to show us multiple camera angles. You kind of felt like you were watching, you know how it is when football season comes around, you're usually able to watch 4 games at the same time on one screen. This kind of had one of those type of deals going down and everything. But you know, once again, Orange Cassidy picking up the win here. I mean, Tony Khan, I'm just picturing Tony Khan playing some Bryan Adams. Everything I do it for you. You know, I'm just picturing him singing that song because, man, he is on cloud 9 right now with Orange Cassidy. I mean, every time I turn around, Orange Cassidy, he's always picking up the win. We just saw this man. Did we not just see this man in some form on Collision and, like, he picked up a win or something? I was looking at this, and you're just going, who are we building him up for to eventually knock him down? Who is going to be the one to eventually knock down Orange Cassidy? Right? Because that's going to be the bigger story in itself, because you've continued to build this guy up and everything, you know, and we've yet to get to that point where, okay, is there somebody that, you know what, they are the one. They are the one that is going to just wait and see. It's going to be them. And it looks like for the time being, no one right now. I'm curious, if you guys could have it your way, who would you like to see dethrone Orange Cassidy for that AEW Intercontinental Championship? Sound off on that. I'm most curious what you all think about that one. I gotta say, though, the way that this match was conducted, this felt like something that I typically see on an episode of Dynamite, Collision, or Rampage. So, I mean, I appreciate them brawling all over the place and everything, but no different than what... You feel where I'm coming from? I mean, convince me how... No, Lee, this is much different than... Because they just did something not that long ago. You know what? The parking lot brawl that went down... Was it on Rampage a couple of weeks back? I thought that was more entertaining than what I had saw tonight. Being straight up honest with you guys. Straight up honest with you guys. Anybody that tells you differently as far as this match being, you know, see if they will buy a bottle of air for $10. Tell them it's the best air they'll ever breathe. Comes in a bottle, $10. Seriously, that's how gullible. Women's title match, Saraya, Britt Baker, Toni Storm, Shida. I had high hopes for Shida here, man. I was really hoping that she was going to retain, and the fate was sealed. The fate was sealed once I saw Saraya come out to her Queen music. Oh man, you know when you get somebody coming out to the Freddie Mercury music, you know you got to look at that and you got to go, yeah, this is pretty much it. This is pretty much it. We're looking at a new champion right here. You didn't want to, right? But you're looking at this, at least for me, I'm going, it's got to be my girl Shida. This is Shida, and my mindset was very simple. This is Shida's first pay-per-view title defense. Surely, my girl Shida's gonna come out of this, and right, surely that's what's gonna go down. Final moments of this matchup, Scorpion crosslock goes down on Toni Storm. Breaker adds a stomp, is able to break it up. Shida gets back in there, trying to go for torture rack drop. Doesn't pan out well. Then you got a top rope Meteora that gets a near fall, followed by the Katana. Britt Baker, once again, making the save. Baker looking for the lockjaw. That gets blocked by Saraya. Comes in with a can of spray paint. It's Toni Storm. Goes in for the nightcap, the pin, wins the title. 8 minute, 49 seconds. I mean, on the one hand, you're looking at this, and if you are a fan for Saraya, you're going, hey man, happy for you. Happy that in front of your friends, your family, your countrymen, women, happy that you're able to have this really cool moment. If you're looking at it from the Shida standpoint, you're going, well, Shida, really, hey, that's cool that you were champion going into this event. That's cool that you defended this title in front of a massive amount of people. This almost makes up, if you will, for the run that you had during the pandemic. You know, all those people that were champions during the pandemic era, we called them the pandemic champions. And not necessarily a dig, but when we really needed for some people to step up, they really did. They really did. And Shida was definitely one of those people for what it's worth. Where I'm a little bit concerned right now is, and I'm going to be perfectly blunt with you guys. So let me see if I got this straight. Sky Blue, Willow Nightingale, right? You see where I'm going with this. Those are the main two I am eyeballing right now. The main two. Jamie Hayter. Love Jamie Hayter. Chris Statlander. Love that girl. Doing some pretty good stuff right now. You know, I'm looking at all of these girls. And I'm just looking at this and I'm going, okay, so hell, I can even look at, to a certain degree, I can even look at Toni Storm. I can even look at Ruby Soho. And I can say respectfully, these girls have been doing any and everything. Busting their asses left and right. Putting on some really solid matches. Making some really good contributions to the women's division. And this is what it's all about. This is what it's all about right here. And instead, we're going to go with Saraya. I'm not being mean, not being a dick, so please don't take it that way. But I mean, let's really, optics wise, let's really take a step back. If you look at how Saraya has been since she's wrestled in AEW, it's really nothing to be writing about of a review. As far as a positive review, it's really nothing. It's pretty much a case of, you know, yeah. I mean, look, is she botching like Britt Baker? Rarely, but at the same time, you're going, well, that was nice golf clap. At most, that's what you're doing for Saraya. You're going, all right, you didn't hurt yourself, good. And there's been a lot of protecting that's been going on with Saraya as well. Every time you've turned around, she's been involved in some type of a tag match, there's a whole lot of stuff that's going on with Saraya. So I'm looking at this title reign right now, and I'm going to tell you guys honestly what I feel in my heart of hearts here. This is not going to be a case where Saraya is going to be holding on to this title for 3 months, 4 months. That's not happening. That's not happening. I feel that this is going to be an extremely short reign for Saraya, right down to the point I wouldn't even be surprised if we get a new champion at All Out. I really feel this was all about just giving Saraya her moment in front of the fans, kind of making everything come back full circle, just trying to give her a nice, good feel moment. That's what I feel is honestly going on here with this. Nothing more, nothing less. Besides that, I thought all the girls did a pretty good job. Oh, everybody clicked here in this one. Everybody clicked here in this one. Didn't quite appreciate the fact that Shida was not a factor in this match for almost, I would say 60%. Didn't really like that, but still, overall, decent match. Coffin match. Sting, Darby Allin taking on Christian Cage, Swerve Strickland. This is where I actually started to get pretty excited, because I know anytime I see my boys in Darby and Swerve, I know particularly Swerve, I know I'm going to get something entertainment-wise is going to be banging. Got no problem with this one. This was actually one of my favorite matches of the card. Gotta say, though, some of those spots with the coffin drop that Darby Allin was doing, where he just goes to the top rope, does the coffin drop, and just back first on the coffin. Yes, I made that sound on purpose. Just to hear that thump of his back and just a slight whimper coming out from Darby. He did this not once but twice. I'm looking at those coffin spot drops. I'm going, dude, how can you be so reckless? Dude, how can you be so stupid? Like, I know you're doing this for, right, but there's not enough money in the world, man. Even if you were to say $500,000, there's not enough money in the world to make me go ahead, go to the top rope, do a coffin drop, and my back lands on a coffin. I don't care if it's going to get dented up. No. That thud, to hear that thud, I did not like hearing that, and I was legit concerned. And I remember when those spots went down too. Me and everybody else in the Discord, we were looking at it and we were going, shit. Like, no, don't do that, dude. And then we had Sting try to do a stinger splash from the side apron, crashing onto, I think it might have been Swerve. Table didn't give out. Sting tries to do it again. The second time was the charm, and I love Excalibur with the little line in there. Sting showing that he is the table. Nice nod there to Botchamania, so you know that's going to get put in there and everything. But yeah, there's like some crazy spots that was in there that just kind of made me chuckle a little bit in there. Final moments of this one. Christian Cage trying to seal the casket as Sting was in there, but Sting had managed to get his bat in there. Or was it Swerve? Was it Swerve? I'm trying to think who it was that tried to close the casket, but Sting had the bat and he pretty much was able to pry that bad boy open and all that. It was a nice little touch that they had in there. But in either case, we had a Swerve stomp that took out Sting briefly. Meanwhile, you got Allin, who got knocked around all over the place. Sting's put in the coffin. Yeah, bat, kept the lid open and everything. Allin comes back in there with the TNT Championship, goes upside the head of Christian with it. Sting follows up with a death drop on Swerve. Got to add more insult to injury as Allin adds the coffin drop for the win. Came in a little bit after the 15-minute mark. I I liked it. I gotta say, Swerve, all them, like I say, anytime I see Swerve on my TV, I know I'm gonna get a pretty good tag match for what it's worth. You know, you've almost kind of conditioned yourself to a point too, where when it comes to these Sting matches, you've almost gotten to a point where you go, okay, I know Sting is gonna do something wild. He's gonna do something kind of crazy here. There's gonna be one or two spots where you just go, what is that old man thinking? And, you know, what is he on? Nugenics? What's going on with this guy, right? I promise, she'll like it too, right? You know, you got to do that whole, you got to do that whole joint with Nugenics and everything. But this was fun. I really wish Swerve and them would have won right here and just let Darby and Sting and Nick Wayne continue chasing them going into All Out. Build up the heels even more. I wish that would have happened because look, Nick Wayne is coming out there. He's continuing to be built up as some type of a chump, and I'm not really a fan of that. We had Nick Wayne make an appearance where he tried to hit Luchasaurus over the back with a skateboard. Luchasaurus no-selling it like a mofo. He turns around, looks at him. Actually, I think he picks him up, puts him over his shoulders or whatever, and then takes him to the back. I don't know if he went deliverance on him or what, but and I was like, the last time we saw Nick Wayne, you know, Nick Wayne at this point is starting to become extremely comical on so many levels. And, you know, honestly, I think that would have been a really good way to have the heels win, because final moments of that matchup, you could have easily shown on the Titantron Luchasaurus torturing the hell out of Nick Wayne, Darby feeling as loyal as he is, feeling as though he's got to go take care of his friend, or maybe Sting goes and says, hey, look, I'll go find him, or something like that. You know, it would have been nice had we had something like that play down, build up Christian, Swerve even more. I hate seeing Swerve lose, right? You know, because Swerve, I don't want to see this guy get to a point where, okay, yeah, he does these great matches, he cuts really good promos, but I don't want him to start becoming the guy who, yeah, he'll do this, but he'll always lose at the end. I don't want to have there be a scenario where that starts to be a recurrence for our boy Swerve. Fozzy comes out to perform Judas. Nice little moment. But Chris Jericho is not Freddie Mercury. Let's just say that, okay? Chris Jericho wishes he could be as gay as Freddie Mercury, but he will never, ever come close. I have to say that because, you know, everybody remembers the infamous Live Aid with Freddie Mercury, and he's got the crowd, and if you've seen Bohemian Rhapsody, you know exactly the spot that I'm talking about. And Jericho comes out there and he's trying so desperately to do that. He's trying to do a reenactment of that, and let's just say it did not go that well. You were more interested in going right into the match. Let's go right into the match. Chris Jericho, Will Ospreay. Love this. I love that kid in Will Ospreay. Love that I'm getting to see a lot more of him on my TV in 2023 as opposed to the other years. I think very, very highly of this guy. Love him big time. Right guy went over as Ospreay picked up the win with the Stormbreaker, and I love the sequence that went down in there at the end, because we saw Will Ospreay do a series of Stormbreakers, even the Hidden Blade doing another Stormbreaker towards the end. All of that, like back-to-back sequences there where he was going, nah, I'm gonna make sure that I freaking put Chris Jericho down here. And look, anytime, much like what I said with Swerve, I am now starting to see with my own two eyeballs that when it comes to Will Ospreay, anytime he's involved, tag match or a singles match, you know it's going to be freaking good. This was another solid match, and this followed up the coffin match. This was another great solid match, great outing here for Will Ospreay. Went over as he should. I kind of feel as though maybe the arc with Jericho and Don Callis is not over just yet. There's a lot more to be unraveled in regards to that. So, to my point, in having Jericho lose to Ospreay, that could be a case right there where maybe Jericho is so humbled by that, and he is essentially kind of now having the words of what Don Callis said to him a couple of weeks back. Hey, man, let's be honest, when it comes to stables, joining factions, you ain't all about that. You're the one that will typically do the recruitment because it best benefits you. When have you ever stopped and not thought about yourself for a minute, right? That pretty much was Don Callis' whole message to Jericho. Right down to the point, let's not also forget that when this was over, Sammy Guevara, he tried to have some words of wisdom there for Jericho. He tried to embrace him, and Jericho shoved the hell out of him. He wasn't trying to hear any of that, and Sammy looked on pretty stunned and hurt as Jericho walked away pretty pissed off. So there could be a lot more. We got to see how this plays out on AEW programming in the coming weeks and everything, but this right here was definitely a pay-per-view worthy type of match. Ospreay showing once again that he is on another level, and I can't wait to see what happens with this man once his New Japan Pro Wrestling contract comes up for renewal. Whether or not he's going to stick around or he's going to take his talents to AEW. I would imagine WWE is definitely going to be watching that very closely. I would not be surprised if they try to make some type of a play for Will Ospreay. But whoever is able to land that young man, you talk about instant buzz. You talk about just any combination that you're going to be able to do as far as programs with Ospreay and everything. Definitely going to be taking it up to that next level. Trios titles, House of Black taking on Acclaimed Daddy Ass. 9 minutes and some change. Arrival, pretty much, and a famouser, mic drop and all that. Boom, we got new champions in the Acclaimed Daddy Ass. I said when I was offering predictions, they had to go in this direction because I looked at it nothing more than the good feel moment in front of the UK crowd. And I even spelled it out. I said, just close your eyes, picture it. Everybody is doing the biggest Scissor Me Daddy celebration party out there in the UK at the Wembley Stadium. Like, you got to go there. Why go with the House of Black for the retain? That doesn't quite make any sense. They had to change the titles right here. Otherwise, this would have been a significant blow, not just to the Acclaimed, but also to Daddy Ass, who you just brought back for. So they needed to do this. I kind of looked at this also as a way of Tony Khan trying to rectify things when the Acclaimed were the tag champions a couple of months back, and we all were in agreement collectively that, you know what, they messed this up. They took the tag titles off of them way too soon after doing all that nice build up and everything for these guys. What the hell? And let's not also forget, in the rearview mirror, we've got Harley Cameron, QTV, and that whole stuff that's going on. So as far as opponents that's going to be waiting in the wings there for the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass, we're not going to have to look that far. I mean, I can definitely see Aaron Solo. I would like to believe Aaron Solo, what was it, on Rampage this past week? I would like to believe he wasn't on Collision for just the hell of it. I would love to believe that Aaron Solo, who else? I just had the other name, but now I'm kind of Johnny TV, right? I'm not quite sure about QT Marshall right now, because the way that they're trying to set up QT Marshall, they're trying to set him up as a singles guy now. So I'm not quite sure if he'll double dip like that as far as chasing after the Acclaim for the Trios champions or whatever. But maybe the Gun Kids can get back into the mix, right? Gun Kids, Golden Club, Bullet, Golden, whatever the hell they're being called, Juice Robinson and crew, they can kind of mess around with the Acclaimed as well. I think that would be an interesting program too. So there's a lot you can do right there. To my whole point, there's a lot that you can do right there. Let's see. From there, I think at this point, one last match. AEW World Title, MJF, Adam Cole, MJF, nice, bad, epic entrance. He gets the full devil entrance with the throne, the worshipers, the whole 9 yards. I loved it. Nice touch right there. I paid attention to this main event match, and I kept in mind what I said to you guys earlier in the week. I said, look here, we're going to see the real Adam Cole and MJF come out here. And we should also see some type of interference go down where it counts the most. We should see that at play as well. I thought the storytelling involved in this match was on another level. And I'm a sucker for detail. I love the fact that, at one point, the referee gets taken out. A steel chair gets introduced. I don't know if it was MJF that introduced it or what, but I like the fact that a steel chair gets introduced. And Adam Cole, he kind of realizes what's about to go down. He just lays on his back like he just got hit. MJF realizing, hey, that's not even what happened. What the hell? He puts the chair around his neck, and then he just lays on his back. Adam Cole is just waiting forever for the referee, and then he finally looks around, sees what's going on. He realizes what MJF has done, and he's just right. So this is a nice game of cat and mouse here. I like what was going on here between these two guys. We also saw a point where MJF was thinking about using that Dynamite ring, but he couldn't do it to his best friend, so it was pretty much, okay, no, whatever. We saw Roderick Strong come in there, get a cheap shot on our boy MJF. Cole realizing exactly what the hell went down. Very pissed off that Strong interfered, but Strong is saying, yo, I'm your friend, not him. I'm your real best friend. Come on, get it done already. Let's go. Very conflicted Adam Cole, and that's the main thing that you saw going on in this. As far as the storytelling goes, you saw a lot of personal conflict amongst two people that were trying to do their best to let it be all about competition, but at the same time trying to fight off the dirty tactics, the dirty deed tactics and everything. And we actually saw this match initially end in a double pin. There was a spot where both men just pretty much, their arms were on one another. Referee counted to 3. It was a double pin. So as a result of that, right, you're having shades of what went down some weeks back. Cole grabs the microphone. Yo, can't end like this. Let's go another 5 minutes. MJF says, no, we're not going to do it like that. No, what we need to do is sudden death. So they go at it again. Tony Khan approves of it and everything. I loved all of that. Loved all of that drama that was going on in this one. And that went down initially at the 19-minute mark. I believe that we had the double count for both guys and everything. So from there, Cole hits the straightjacket suplex on the apron. MJF crashing to the floor as a result. He also goes for the Panama Sunrise, which was a nice spot as well. Action goes back into the ring. Cole heads up for another Panama Sunrise. MJF pulls the referee in the way. So the referee, who was Bryce Harper, he gets bumped yet again and everything. Again, the whole Dynamite ring, like the Ovale, right? Roderick Strong, all of that hilarious stuff. So we see Cole goes for the Panama Sunrise. Then the boom connects. There's a delayed pin attempt, but Cole gets in there, goes for the cover, Takes forever for the referee to count. Matter of fact, I thought we were going to be seeing a new referee. Did not happen. It did not happen. So from there, we saw Cole. He picks up the title, thinking, okay, this will definitely get the job done. I'm going to win no matter what. He's ready to hit Cole. He's ready to hit MJF over the head with it, but he decides, I can't do this. I just can't. Throws it away. MJF, a freaking fruit roll up, small package. That's how we end this. A fruit freaking roll up. 28 minutes and some change. MJF still your champion, right? So you're looking at this and you're going, okay, great storytelling, nice teasing that's going on here. Cole showing a touch of the old Adam Cole from the Undisputed Era, that guy still exists and everything, but neither one of these guys wanted to pull the trigger on one another. And remember, no matter who was going to win here, they still have to function as a tag team because they're the ROH World Tag Champions. So you had a lot of interesting movements going on and storylines here going on in this match and everything. You're looking at this and you're wondering, so what happens now? You've got All Out happening in Chicago next week. Do you run this back? Do you run this back? I thought for sure post-match, maybe CM Punk was going to come out. Maybe the Kingdom. We didn't even get that. Post-match, MJF, he was trying to be a good friend to Adam Cole and let him know, hey, look, we're still friends. We're still the tag champions. Cole wasn't trying to hear any of it. MJF tried to go get the tag belts, give him his half. Cole threw that bad boy away. This upset MJF. He's going, okay, so this was never about being friends. This wasn't about the tag titles. You just care about this. He actually threw the AEW World title at him and welcomed him to hit him. Just go ahead and hit him already. Betray him already. Go ahead, get it over and done with. Roderick Strong jumping up on the apron, screaming at Cole to do it already. Cole couldn't do it. It pretty much ends with a hug. It ends with a hug as the Kingdom is trying to do their best to hold back a crazy Ric Flair Roderick Strong from having an aneurysm. That's how we ended. We ended with two bros hugging it out. You know, the only thing missing from that, honestly, was Led Zeppelin playing over MJF and Cole hugging. Oh, honey, I can't quit you, babe. That was the only thing that was missing from that. So let's talk about highs and lows from this one. Overall, this card, again, I gotta say, it felt like, and that's not a diss, but it felt like a glorified edition of AEW Collision. That's what it honestly felt like to me. High point, low point. Low point, I gotta go with, I'm going to stand behind it. I know that this is probably going to be unpopular for some people out there, but I'm actually going to go with Bullet Club Gold taking on the Golden Elite. I'm actually going to go with that one because it was no different. Like I said, I enjoyed the parking lot brawl a lot more that had, went down. But you know what? I'm thinking about that parking lot brawl. That parking lot brawl didn't even involve, I don't think that involved Golden Elite, or did it? I think it did involve Golden Elite. If you guys can bear with me a second, I'll actually go on the, let me go on the site, because I remember I did a review for that parking lot brawl. Because if Golden Elite was in that, then you could definitely make an argument that, hey, Lee, as far as maybe proper best utilization of Bullet Club Gold, right? You could definitely kind of go in that direction. So hang on here. I think it was the August 18th edition. By the way, Mercedes Moné / Sasha Banks, there was an appearance by her. She was just kicking back in the stands, looking at the action. It was just a random camera pan. I thought that was so freaking random, because if anything, you should have shown her during the Fatal 4-Way for the AEW Women's Championship. Instead, they showed her like 2-3 matches after the fact. I did not quite understand that whatsoever. I'm still looking here, but I'm able to see all my reviews so far. Maybe it was August 25th. Hang on. Was it August? No, it wasn't August 25th. Yeah, it wasn't August 25th. I think it was much earlier in the month of August. Maybe it was August 11th. Hang on here, because there was a parking lot brawl. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about if you watch Rampage. There was a parking lot brawl that I thought was really badass. Let me see here. Let's see. I'm almost there. Hang on, guys. Really? I'm not seeing the parking lot brawl. Hang on. AEW parking lot brawl. And I'll just say 2023. Because I don't want to give the wrong information. So it was Rampage, it looks like. Hang on. Okay, yeah, so it was Rampage. It was Rampage from August. Hang on here. And it looks like it had involved the Blackpool Combat Club and looks like Best Friends. So I'm glad we're still on the air and I was able to. But I enjoyed that a lot more. I think if it would have had that same type of environment, you know, that same type of atmosphere, execution, I probably could have got into that Stadium Stampede match a lot more than, right? But for me, that was actually the low point. And even though I might have had some of the names mixed up, I still feel that as far as what I saw tonight from the Stadium Stampede, you know, and here's the thing that we got to remember as well. The Stadium Stampede mode was just recently released for the AEW Fight Forever video game, right? So you have these gamers that's doing all these crazy things in the Stadium Stampede, and they're expecting to be able to, right, all the things that they had saw in the previous Stampedes, and then you have a dummied down version of what you had presented tonight, right? I'm not saying we gotta see Dynamite be shoved up a horse's ass as it goes, you know, flying off deep into the rafters. I'm not saying we got to show some crazy stuff like that, but just the fact that this Stadium Stampede joint was so watered down, I wasn't really a fan of that. I really wish they would have done something, you know, honestly, kind of going back and thinking about it now as far as how maybe they could have done this a little bit differently. TK has the money. He definitely has the money. I still say incorporating the streets would have been pretty badass. Just imagine if AEW would have been able to work something now where they would have been able to maybe rent a trolley. That would have been hilarious to see a trolley that's got the driver and a few passengers on it, and they're brawling on the freaking trolley as it's kind of going down the street. But then you kind of would have had to try to figure out how to make sure that your connection feed doesn't get interrupted and all that other stuff. I'm not quite sure how fans would have been receptive to the idea of the arena maybe being empty and they show like some type of splice footage, right? I don't think that would have went well with the crowd because they wanted to be as in real time as humanly possible. So there's a whole lot of they had to work with, right? But I think we all can be in agreement it could have been a lot better than what was presented. So I would actually go with that as a low point. As far as high point, I I would have to go with Will Ospreay, Chris Jericho. Will Ospreay and Chris Jericho. That definitely, and you know what? Honorable mention to MJF and Adam Cole, but Will Ospreay, Chris Jericho, for sure. So, keeping that in mind, as far as my official grade for these matches, just what I saw. Hook versus Perry, I'm going to give that one a... Let's really break this down here. Hook versus Perry, I'm going to give that one a... I'll give that one a C. I can't go higher. I can't go lower. I'm going to give that one a C. CM Punk taking on Samoa Joe. You know, they set the tone for what it was worth and everything. I'd be willing to give them a B-. Not going to go higher, not going to go any lower. Takeshita Bullet Club Gold taking on Golden Elite. I'm going to give that one a C. Appreciate the effort. FTR taking on Young Bucks. I enjoyed that match. I'm staying at a B. Stadium Stampede match. Eddie Kingston, Orange Cassidy, Best Friends, Penta, El Zero Miedo, taking on Blackpool Combat Club. Everything that I had just said, I'm gonna give that one a C. Saraya, Sheeta, Tony Storm, Britt Baker, Fatal 4-Way. Everybody clicked pretty good in that match too. C+. Can't go higher, can't go lower. Darby Allin, Sting taking on Swerve, Christian Cage. Really enjoyed that. B-. Will Ospreay, Chris Jericho. Ooh. Let me think about that one. I don't know about... I'd like to give it an A. But I'm leaning more towards a B+. I'm going to stay at a B+. If you're around Monday night, ask me if I still feel it's a B+ or if it's an A. But as it stands right now, I'm giving that a B+. That shouldn't be a bad thing, but I give that one a B+. Acclaim, Billy Gunn, taking on House of Black, trios titles. I give that one a C. MJF, Adam Cole, AEW World Title. I would give that one great storytelling too. Didn't quite appreciate the finish. Freaking roll up. We do all that just to get a damn roll up. Well, yeah, just out of nowhere. It's a good match. B-. I was expecting for there to be some additional drama post-match and everything. At least kind of setting the tone there for All Out, and we didn't get that. Fruit roll up. I'm going to go with a B- on that one. So, yeah. I'm looking at how I graded this. I'm standing behind it. A lot of C's are in there as well. So I guess for an overall grade, is it fair to say, guys, that the pay-per-view is sitting at a B-? Is that fair based on what you all just heard? Is it fair to say overall this is a B-? If you feel otherwise, let me know. But just based on what I just said, overall a B- for a show. That's pretty good. That's not bad. Now let's see what some of you guys are saying about All In. Sound off, post your comments down below. I'm going to take to the web and I'm going to read to you guys some of the comments that came on. Now, the overall consensus right now over at Cage Match, they're giving the pay-per-view a 8.75. I just loaded that up just now. They're giving it an overall 8.75. So let's see what's going on here when we click on the ratings, and I'll go with the most critical one just by skimming, and then we'll go from there. So right now, as far as most criticals that I'm seeing, it's a 6 rating. I'm not seeing any lower. I'm seeing a, yeah. Well, hang on. Wow, there's a lot of entries in here. Hang on. Whoa, wait a minute. We got a 3. There's actually a 3 that's in here, believe it or not. There's actually a 3. Let's see here. Wow, there's another 3. Holy crap. I see a 4. So we got 3s and 4s. It looks like that's by 3 people so far. I see another 4, and that's it. Okay, so let's start with the most criticals here. From Core of Wrestling, something is bothering me. Why should the name of the biggest event in the history of wrestling be on this event? Before this, we have seen such works from Vince McMahon, such as the biggest match in history and the biggest main event of WrestleMania in history. In my opinion, in addition to this mistake, this event was not close to its name either in terms of match card or in terms of quality, and it was not even among the top 5 events of 2023 regardless of the date. Personally, I really did not deal with this event except for 2 matches. I did not give this event more than 4 points, and most importantly, why should the main event, the so-called biggest event in history, end with a roll? Well, you know what? He brings up a very valid point. I definitely will give him that. But to say a 4, I think even the most truest, unbiased wrestling fan that hears that would say, yeah, dude, there's no way that the pay-per-view overall is at a 4. No. You know, if you want to say maybe a 5 or a 6, sure. A 7, hell, yeah, go for it. But to say a 4, yeah, don't know about that one. Let's look at the next critical one that had popped up here, which was, hang on, should have been a 3. And this is by King Switch. Embarrassing show. I mean, very cool to AEW to have 80K people in their crowd today, but the card was so bad that I knew. Well, let's stop right there, King Switch. Won't say that the card was so bad. I think the better choice of words, more accurate words to use, is the card was underwhelming, and which is something that I talked about on the show earlier this week, as myself and friends on the Discord were mentioning. You know, we all were talking with one another. We all felt that the card wasn't really, hey, for 80,000 plus people in attendance, we didn't feel that the card was really delivering on all cylinders. We felt that it was an underwhelming card. Not a bad card, just underwhelming. There's a big difference, you know. Like, you have expectations, and then when you see the expectations that you build up in your head, and then what actually happens in reality, you know, you're kind of, you know, is there a bit disappointment? But even with the underwhelming card, many of us felt that, well, surely they'll rise to the occasion here, well, it wasn't quite it. But anyway, King Switch goes on to say, but the card was so bad that I knew since the beginning it wouldn't deliver. The only 2 matches that are worth watching are FTR versus Bucks and the main event That's it. Wait a minute. So you're not even going to put in there Chris Jericho versus Will Ospreay? Now, one could make an argument that Will Ospreay, pretty much carried the hell out of the match, but Jericho was in semi-rare form here tonight. Interesting. Let's see here. I cannot believe that Tony Khan still books his company like how the can you mess up a match involving guys like Omega, Ibushi, and Jay White? How can you mess up a talented roster, the best in wrestling, by the way, to do a below average show? How can you book Will Ospreay to face a washed up icon like Jericho in front of 80K people? Sure, I know it's Ospreay's dream, but this moment would be fantastic to have a better matchup for Will. Anyway, this show isn't a zero because MJF versus Cole was great and FTR versus Bucks was very good. The rest, skippable. Funny that the best match in London of the weekend is Ishii Jacobs. I would like to believe that in a much different place. And if Bryan Danielson was 100% healthy, ready to go, and all that other good stuff, I would love to believe that for one of our main events for All In, I would have loved to believe it. Perfect world, if I could have had it my way, Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson instead of Ospreay versus Jericho. Danielson versus Ospreay, without a shadow of doubt, would have been a match of the year candidate. And in front of that crowd, that would have freaking sold. That would have freaking sold big time. Let's look at the next critical one here. This is another 3. This is by Benarmerd, I believe that is the name. This is a little bit lengthy, but let's stay with them and see what they have to say here. Looks like it's about 6 paragraphs. It was a pretty bad show considering the hype around the show and the atmosphere. Most of the matches on the card disappointed and didn't make sense, and the crowd wasn't as into it as I thought they would be for an 80K crowd, considering Money in the Bank had less and was still louder. Very good point so far. I got no comeback for you there. You could tell most of them weren't AEW fans and just wanted to see a wrestling show. To the point, as far as the representation, yeah, you definitely saw quite a few AEW shirts. You saw CM Punk shirts. I also saw some WWE shirts. Saw some love there for Bray Wyatt, particularly as far as merch goes. I think you might be on to something, Bomb. I think you might be on to something there. See, what else did you say here? The women's match honestly should have been on the pre-show and wasn't entertaining one bit. To your point, based on what I saw of Hook and Jungle Boy Jack Perry, yeah, I would have switched it out. I would have put that on the actual card and had the women on the pre-show. I definitely would have done that. I would have kept MJF and Cole challenging for the ROH titles right where it needed to be. Punk versus Joe was all right and probably the best we could get out of them for the time slot. 6-man tag match really disappointed considering the names in the match. The tag match was all right, so I don't have anything to say about it. The Stadium Stampede match was anywhere and everywhere, and that's honestly what made it good and bad, if that makes sense. It does make sense. The coffin match wasn't too special and was honestly alright considering that some of the guys in that match can do a singles match over 15 minutes. Yeah, this was really heavily relying, really on Darby, Swerve, and Christian, I personally would say. Sting was just pretty much chilling in the back driver's seat, enjoying a bong or whatever, enjoying his chips, whatever. Ospreay versus Jericho was actually pretty good and should have been allotted more time, and a Jericho re-heel turn is in the works. Yeah. Trios match needed to be better, and it just disappointed.
Agreed. The main event was easily match of the night and saved the show for sure. Agreed. Plenty of near falls and great selling to bolster the match forward. Other than 2 matches, I'm extremely disappointed. And remember, Boom gave it a 3 out of 10. Yeah. Let's see. We've got another 3 out of 10. Don't worry. We're gonna switch it up in a hot second. But let's check out these most critical ones here. This show had solid matches, but nothing really moved me other than Stadium Stampede. Okay, so here's somebody that actually was for Stadium Stampede. That was also probably the only match that went above expectations. Everything else was meh or below. AEW has the capability of putting on a show with multiple match of the year contenders anytime with their talent roster, but we got a lot of roll-ups here. We did. And stuff designed for a moment rather than a killer front to back card, and a show that will be remembered for its content, like in AEW Revolution 2023 or Wrestle Kingdom. 9 out of 10 or 11 or Money in the Bank 2011, but this show just felt underwhelming to me, which is something I mentioned earlier, if you guys recall. When the star was the crowd and none of the matches feel godly, like in Athena versus Willow or Punk versus Kingston, Full Gear 2021, or MJF versus Danielson, Iron Man, or Heyman versus Mox, Texas Deathmatch, or Omega versus Ospreay, there's just an emptiness. This was not AEW at their best. Oh, and only one women's match, 9 minutes long, 4-way, is just extremely lame stuff. I do agree with you. For the event to run as long as it did and you're only given one women's match, I must admit, and you don't even bother to try to factor in Sky Blue, Willow, the ones that's actually been going out there, putting in the work and everything, doing pretty good. I definitely hear you on that point. None of the parts were that great other than Stampede, and the show was lesser than the sum of its parts, which highlights downright awful build with insane logic gaps like AR Fox leaving Mongol Embassy or J Juice randomly linking with Callus. A lot of the TV was enjoyable even with the issues, but this was weird and bad. So we've got our decent amount of most critical, right? Now let's switch it up a little bit, and let's look at maybe some 7s or some 8s. So for instance, and some 6s as well. For instance, from Well, who gave it a 6 out of 10. Something here just didn't click for me. Too many tag matches, only one women's match that wasn't even very good. I liked the main event until the roll-up finish. It didn't feel like a big ending to the greatest wrestling show in history as it was dubbed. The pacing of some matches weren't great. The presentation also didn't feel like it was a big event, to be honest, either. I feel like it could have been a lot stronger for the event and didn't give that big fight feeling, really, until it went dark in London. There was a nice ending after the main event that left me a little more pleased with my time watching. I think the overall consensus, whether you rated a 3, a 6, a 8, or a 10, I think the overall consensus is definitely going to feel like that, as far as underwhelming, that's going to be the main theme that's going to constantly keep popping up here. It's just underwhelming. Here's another 6. I'm going to call him SCK. AEW Crown Jewel was a very chaotic event. Punk versus he's calling his AEW Crown Jewel. Punk versus Joe was a good wrestling match with the wrong winner. I just don't buy that Punk can beat Joe. Elite versus BCC was meh. The tag match was average. AEW tag match. Four-way women match was the funeral of the AEW women's division. Stadium Stampede was too chaotic and ugly and botchy. Agreed. Jericho versus Ospreay was the best match of the show. I would say second, but I can see you. Trios match was meh. MJ versus Cole, great match and cringe storytelling. Really? I thought the ending was a little bit too corny, but okay, I see where you're coming from. Let's see. Edge Grass, 6 out of 10. Fine show. Knowing the card, it was what I was expecting it to be. Some great matches, some meh matches, and some awful ones even. I felt the excitement of a big show. Speaking of big show, can I give props to the AEW pre-show team? Now, for those of you that did not watch 0 Hour, there was a really great pre-show team that consisted of Renee Paquette, Kip Sabian, Big Show, Paul White, and unfortunately I can't think of the other guy that was in there. It was not RJ City. But Big Show particularly, I enjoyed his work big time. Nice, bombastic, energetic personality, very witty, great timing, great synergy there with Renee Paquette, Tony Khan and crew. That needs to be an ongoing thing. I don't know if maybe you need to just take those two and constantly have two special guests with them. You could even continue to go with Kip if Kip doesn't mind, but because I definitely think you got something there with Kip as well. Maybe you could do something with Keith Lee next. I would like to see how Renee and Big Show would work out with RJ City. I'm very curious how that would dwell, if at all, how that would mix, if at all. So, but yeah, definitely shout out to Paul White. Did pretty good right there. Let's see what we got here. Good stuff right there. Were we done reading that review? Let me go back here. He had a little bit more to say, but the card of a Dynamite mixed with a pay-per-view. They tried to put too much on a single card, and it was definitely not necessary. Isla Bonita had gave it a 7 out of 10, saying it was a solid show, but without revelations. Some sentiment, some cool wrestling, and absolute crap in the women's division. The trios match was also poor. The rating is raised significantly by the main event, which lived up to expectations. For the overall 7, I see no reason to give a higher rating, and she gave it a 7 out of 10. Now, some of you guys may want to hear some 8, 9s, and 10s in there. Let's see what we got for you. Gwen gave it a 10, saying, what a show. A show with such meh build for most of the matches showed out in a major way. Some all-time classics in the Stadium Stampede, Cole versus MJF, and FTR versus Bucks make this card more special than it had the right to be. Not only historic for the attendance, but historic for the quality as well. Let's see here. I'm going to skip that one because that's a little too long. Will, 9 out of 10. Let me break it down. 2 out of 2 points for the stage. 2 out of 2 points for the crowd. 5 out of 6 points for the matches. The reason I gave it a 5 for the matches was because the Stadium Stampede was an abortion. BBK skewers are stupid, and nothing made sense. Eddie going at Claudio I enjoyed, but Moxley is horrible, and Orange Cassidy should be out of a job for the embarrassment he is to the business. Oh, God, that's a good one. That's a good one. Let's see here. Copper 9 out of 10. A really great show. Just enjoyed this from start to finish. Not a bad match on the card. I didn't like some of the outcomes, but that's just to be expected. Best match was the tag match. Weakest match was the trios. Get JR off of commentary, for sake. That man is horrendous now. Nobody's liking JR these days. What's going on with you guys? I'll read to you guys two more. 7 out of 10 by K413. A good, not great show. Far from the disaster some anticipated, it was very top heavy, with the first 4 matches being the best of the night. Ospreay and Jericho over-delivered, and it seems as if Ospreay signing with AEW is only a matter of time. I really didn't like the last 2 matches. I understand I am in the minority with the Cole MJF stuff, but that last match felt like an overbooked mess. Though Bryce taking the Destroyer was pretty cool. Yeah, I almost forgot about that. Him taking that was pretty hilarious, and the way, I think it was Adam Cole that did it. I think the way Adam Cole sold that was pretty badass as well. It was pretty badass. Here's a 10 out of 10 by Emmanuel. Best pro wrestling ever. Congratulations to AEW and all of the AEW team. We had a lot of standout moments, storytelling, comedy, and a lot of hardcore moments. Here is my mention of the very well done tributes to Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt. You'll never be forgotten. That was history. We lived a historic moment. Let's see. Raptor, 9 out of 10. A complete event for the hardcore match, storytelling match, psychology match, technical match, and finally, main event, which became a masterpiece of the year. A match with extremely emotional storytelling. Thank you, Tony Khan. Thank you, All Elite Wrestling. Right, see some 7s in there. I'll read to you guys one more. I don't know if you guys want a high or a low. I'm just skimming. Let's go with a 6. No, actually, we already did that one. Hang on. I was getting ready to read that one for a second time. Let's see. Caught myself right in time. Let's go with Angus, 9 out of 10. One of the most important shows in AEW history ends up delivering in a shadow of doubt. Every single match on this card delivers, giving us moment after moment after moment. A very exciting event. A very long event indeed, stacking up to a 5-hour show. Jesus, a lot of stuff happened within this show. But they're giving it a 9 out of 10 overall. And let's see. I'm trying to see if there's something pretty short I can be in and out on. Yeah, there is actually. One more. I'll give you guys a 6 out of 10 one. This is from Cal. A successful event by a lot of metrics. However, I felt disappointed by the quality of the event. A lot of matches let me down in their quality, and I didn't feel like they lived up to the hype of a WrestleMania level show that should have been. They had a WrestleMania sized audience, but not enough of the grandeur involved with it, which for me is a letdown. I know AEW is the wrestling company over sports entertainment, but their main event was very sports entertainment, and that is one of the best angles of the whole company. So clearly, there is room to lean into that side and have it be successful for them. So, very interesting interactions here. Very interesting comments from everybody. So you got a nice, good mix just now of what all everybody is saying in regards to that. Let's see here. I'm being asked, who is my favorite wrestler? My God, you should take a look at the wall behind me, you could easily see some of my favorite wrestlers. And I'm not saying that to be dismissive, but my God, that would be like a whole 15 minutes. I think you need to break that down because there's so many ways one can answer that question. Who's my favorite wrestler in general, of all time, of a particular decade, right? There's so many ways I could answer that. So that question has to be more clarified. Let's see here. And K179, as far as rating the show overall, I think when you had initially put in that comment, we were just at the start of reviewing the show and everything. But K179 did add this. How did AEW make history? It better not, because Tony said All In was the biggest wrestling event, because that's Collision in Korea. I think what he really meant to say was just as far as what AEW was able to do, right? I think as far as what AEW was able to do, I'm not going to take something that could be taken out of context, especially when I haven't even seen the interview / listen to the audio clip in question where Tony Khan was asked whatever question or he made some comment. I would actually have to hear it for myself. So as much as I want to bite into that apple, I actually need to hear it with my own 2 ears or see it as well. So you still got a RCW shirt from 2011. Phil, I appreciate you. I know you pop up once in a blue moon, and that's great. I appreciate anybody that's been listening to the show for a long time. That's great. Appreciate that. Best advice I can give, though, is keep supporting the show. And my guy, if you still got a shirt from 2011, I can't help but ask, why haven't you purchased the newer stuff? We got newer merch that's out there. Just saying, if you really want to support, the show and everything, still having something from, and if I remember it right, I think that shirt was one. I don't remember. I could be wrong, but I don't remember that being a case where somebody went out of their way to buy. I think only twice during our show history we had somebody go out of their way to buy our shirts. I don't mind being honest. I don't mind being transparent, because after all, we're of the more smaller mom and pop shows that's out there and all that. So it's funny because you should do this design, you should do it. It's like okay, and we should make bobbleheads, and we should do this, and we should do that. And then when we did do some of the stuff, it was like, okay, y'all kept asking for it, we polled you, and here you go. Go at it. Go ahead. You can go buy it. Nobody buys it. That's why we stopped doing that. So if you're one of the few, you're one of the proud, you're one of the only that has a shirt from whatever respected year, hey, that's more power to you. That's more power to you. But it makes me smile to see some people, but I try to differentiate, because I have some people that will just pop up just so they can get a shout out, so I won't really acknowledge them. And then there's those that just, it's really weird, because I'll have some that don't watch wrestling anymore. They'll just pop up and do a drive-by comment like what Phil made. And then I'll have those that will just randomly pop up just to ask some weird question. And no shots at anybody in here, by the way. You all have been lovely tonight. It's a weird dynamic. The ones that really put a smile on my face, though, honestly, are the ones that really go out of their way to let me know that, hey, man, I grew up on your show while I was in high school, and here I am now. I'm in college, or I just graduated college. Hell, man, I just became a dad, or I just became a mom. I even have my fair share of wrestlers that have told me off record, I grew up listening to your show. I grew up checking out your show. So this is surreal that we're here in this moment and how, it's come full circle. And, I'm not going to tell you the wrestlers that have said that to me, but it's been more than once. I will definitely tell you that. And that puts a big smile on my face when I hear stuff like that. All right, so we've been at it for 2 hours, 16 minutes. We went a lot longer, but I wanted to make sure that after I was done with the review, I showed you guys the proper love and respect of reading your comments, your reactions to the event and everything. I can tell you this much, as far as programming notes goes, it's going to be interesting. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I've got a loaded up schedule for this fall semester. I'm going to do my best to give you guys every single show that's going to be coming your way twice a week. I'm going to do my best to honor that unless the work gets a little bit too hectic. But join me Monday night, August 28th, 2023. I'll be live after WWE Raw goes off the air. Now all eyes are going to be on WWE because they've got to put out their final edition of Raw, NXT, and SmackDown, as they're going to be going into the pay-per-view. What is it? Payback. They're getting ready to do Payback the next weekend. So that's going to be interesting. Shout out to Impact Wrestling. They have an event. I think it finally had wrapped up, but Impact Wrestling, they just got done doing Emergence. We also have, let me see, is it still ongoing, Impact's Emergence, or is it now in the books? Hang on here, and I can tell you in a second. Okay, so Emergence has wrapped up several minutes ago. I'll actually poke my head into that, look a little bit more into that, the results and all that, talk about that on Monday. I know NWA had a busy weekend as well. They did their 75th anniversary pay-per-view event. I believe they continued the tradition in making it a 2-night event. So I'll poke my head into those results, see what's going on there, talk about that more on the Monday show. But I'll be with you guys Monday night after WWE Raw goes off the air. Meantime, if you're new, welcome. If you haven't done so already, do hit the subscribe button. When you do that, you really help put more eyeballs on the content, helps get it out there to a more wider audience. Leave those ratings and reviews wherever you get your podcast, as we're all over the place. Just search the RCWR show. Shout out to those that support the show. Definitely shout out to my man and DJ, who's been dropping the hot clips onto the YouTube channel within recent weeks. For those of you that want to hear my thoughts about the passing of Terry Funk, the clip is made available right now on the YouTube channel, separate from, I think it was the Wednesday show that we had put out there. I have not spoken about the passing of Bray Wyatt or Price is Right host Bob Barker yet. I'll be speaking about their respective passings for the very first time on the Monday night show, for those of you that are curious. It would have been easy for me to do like everybody else, come on immediately, reacting to the news and everything. I did not want to do that, though. I actually wanted to, I actually mourned for Bray Wyatt myself. I mourned for him. I mourned for his friends, family, and colleagues. That one definitely rocked me quite a bit. Right down to the point, if you checked out some of my recent reviews for Rampage and Collision, I essentially flat out said, hey, I'm still pretty much shaken up by, if I could have had it my way, I would have not done Collision or Rampage for the website over the weekend. That's how messed up I was in the head hearing the passing of Bray Wyatt. But I had already committed. I didn't want to leave the guys in a bind over there at the site and all that. So, but I'll share a lot more thoughts now that some time has passed and everything, and I'll sound off about their respective passings on the Monday show, and we'll get into loads more. We'll definitely do our best to put a smile on you all's faces during that Monday show. Meantime, get at me on the Facebook and the Twitter X use the keywords the RCWR show. For those of you that's going to be waiting for this on demand and on the downloads, give me about 40 minutes or less to render, mix this down, and I'll upload it as soon as possible before I go to bed for the night. Till next go around, be safe and be kind to one another. Take care, y'all. Peace.